This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask with your host, Dr. Judith Briles. On the show today, you'll find out where book publishing is going and how to take advantage of it. How to identify and avoid publishing predators. What opportunities are emerging as the book trade evolves in new forms. How to avoid losing money and much, much more. Join us now as a variety of publishing pros will deliver insights and strategies to take the author to the next level of publishing. It's your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Brought to you by AuthorU and the Book Shepherd. And now, here's your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of the AuthorU, your guide to book publishing podcast. Throughout it, along with my guest, I'll share ahas, insights, and tips to enhance and support your book and publishing journey. My goal is always to support you and your book's success. Just a reminder, if you're on Twitter, do connect with me on @MyBookShepherd. And if on Facebook, why not join my book publishing group to share your news or ask any questions. And of course, you can always email me at judith@briles.com. Daily, I post throughout my social media world a favorite quote from my book, Snappy, Sassy, Salty, Success for Authors and Writers. So today's quote, which will tie into our program, is this: savvy writers leave out all the boring parts. So what's today all about? Well, we're going to get started. We're going to be talking about humor. We're going to be talking about creativity. And with us as our guiding light is award-winning stand-up comedian, hilarious and high energy, a little intuitive and certainly interactive, Nancy Norton. She's the headliner for the Comedy Works here in Denver, Colorado. And she just was on our at our extravaganza as our headliner for the evening entertainment. Nancy, welcome.
Hey, Judith. Thanks for having me.
I am so glad to be here. Now, I should also say Nancy is an aspiring author.
That's right. That's right.
She's an aspiring author, and she's also, when I said award-winning, here's someone who was identified as the best of the Fest show with Jay Leno in Burbank. She was a champion in the Seattle International Comedy Competition. She was the winner of the Boston Comedy Festival, the first woman to ever do it. And she is a Grand Slam champion storyteller. So here's how this works with your writing, everyone. You need to use humor. Even in deep pain, humor is part of the process of actually coming out of it. All of us, I think, need to understand that. And also the art of storytelling. So you fiction authors get that storytelling is imperative. You get that. But the nonfiction authors need to get it too, because that's where you hook your points as you move through it. So Nancy, let's add on. How are you?
I am doing great. I'm having a great day. A lot of creativity going on over here at Norton Central. One of the things I want to say, you said even in states of pain that we need to use humor. And I would say, and I would add to that, especially when we're sharing pain and with ourselves or others, it just makes it more manageable, more palatable. And, inviting actually invites you to process some of that pain. It's a tool I use all the time, actually, in my journey through life. It's really helped me survive and thrive. So I just want to say, absolutely, when you're in pain, add the humor to make it manageable.
Well, and sometimes I shared a story. You didn't hear me on it when I was speaking on Saturday morning at the extravaganza. But I was showing how to reinforce your books in front of an audience without saying a word about your book. It was an image issue. And I shared a story about a woman. I've interviewed over 10,000 people through my career and writing my books. And there has always been one that was just like at the top of the pyramid who stood out. And I mean, I'm not going to go into it. It's a horrendous story. But I refer to the roller coaster that when you tell, when you're in deep pain, when you're writing about pain, when you're experiencing pain, when you're speaking about it, that you've got to bring people out of it to give them relief so they can turn the page or stay with you, And so, Nancy, how do you do that as a humorist?
Did you say, how do I do that?
Yep. How do you do it?
I just do it. I think there's something organic in me that just happens. I have a hard time telling a sad story without the humor. In fact, when I won the Grand Slam championship of Truth Be Told, I actually did not expect to win it. I needed to process something that was very sad. I lost a baby and I was very sad and I needed to just get that story out. And my friend told me it's the funny stories that win. So I was just not in it to win it. That time I was just in it to process it and share. And so, and not that that's what the intention is of the Grand Slam storytelling, but that was what I selfishly was doing. So I went in there and I was telling this sad story about a miscarriage, but I can't help it. I just throw in, like, this is how I relieve myself. And it's a very organic process of kind of getting perspective, stepping out of myself intermittently, looking back at myself, acknowledging how ridiculous this one thing is that I just said, even though I'm not making fun or belittling my pain exactly. I'm just like, there's something around the pain, like not necessarily on the bullseye of the pain, but in, concentric circles away from it where I could manage it. Anyway, that's kind of a vague answer, but that is, I'm sticking with it. But it was weird that I ended up winning that night. And it was just, I think, the heart share, the vulnerability, but also sharing vulnerability with strength. I don't know if that's not really an oxymoron now that we have Brene Brown out there, but I thought I came up with that in the 90s, that my vulnerability was my strength. But turning your vulnerability sideways and kind of like, oh, here's a funny aspect of that experience. Is that too vague?
No, it's not vague, but also what it does is it opens up. Maybe instead of opening up, it gives people permission to do that, which I think is always really important.
Yes, I give you permission. Each and every one of you have my permission to laugh at your pain. And I mean, it gets a little trickier when you laugh at other people's pain. And that's what I don't recommend doing. You'll find that that's what's called, there's adaptive humor and there's maladaptive humor. And I think adaptive humor is when we are laughing at our own pain. Maladaptive humor is when you punch down. That's what we say in the comedy business. Oh, that guy's punching down. He's punching down at people that are in pain or people that are marginalized. And I came up in the 90s as a comedian, and in the 90s, it was still quite all right to make fun of marginalized people who were suffering in our society. Now it's not cool, which I appreciate because it's a little safer place for me to be completely who I am, which is a non-binary 61-year-old woman. I can actually come out and feel safe about doing that, whereas in the 90s, I would come out, I identified as a lesbian, and I would do comedy shows all over the country, and I just wanted people to meet the lesbian next door and to take the whatever stigma off of it. I came out before Ellen on national television. I came out before Rosie O'Donnell. I came out before all these people. I'm pretty proud of that. And now, of course, I came out as a retired lesbian. I'm no longer a lesbian. But anyway,
oh, well.
In the 90s, the humor that people used would make fun of my pain. No, don't make fun of my pain. Make fun of your own. That's where the expansiveness is. And that's the invitation to say, oh, if she can laugh at her pain, I can laugh at mine.
Well, I think that is. So how do you set that up? Let's talk about the setup of those kind of things and maybe now we're kissing on the creativity. Does do you observe something? Do you said you were processing a loss of a baby. Is that something that you say, if this is happening, then this is where I need to go, or what do I need to do here?
Well, and this is where I find I am not the best teacher because of my intuitive style. But what I would say is just what I do is like I said, I take these mini, and I don't think it's dissociation. Maybe it is. I take a little quick step outside of myself and look back in on what I just said. Like, this happened spontaneously during my share about losing a baby very early. Honestly, it was just 2 months in gestation. So a lot of people would not even, this was not a commentary about, abortion rights or pro-choice or any of that. It's like, I happen to be pro-choice, and I was choosing to have a baby, and so I was very attached to this unborn child that people, the nomenclature, you can use whatever nomenclature, but in my heart and mind, it was a future child. So I was really bonded already. And then when, no one in my family that I knew of had a miscarriage, I wasn't prepared. I was, just very optimistic and never once prepared for the possible loss. And then the sudden loss. And only that far into gestation, I was so invested and so depressed afterwards. And there was this part of me that felt unfulfilled, that I wanted to hold that baby. And I realized it was so teeny tiny. And the name of the story, I think, was something like being, it was like the size of a bean. I'm trying to remember how I told this story now, like being there. I haven't done that. It was just something, I knew that sounds trite. I can't remember how I worded it. But I was walking around my house holding my cupped hand as if I were holding a tiny bean, a little tiny next to my heart. Like, I just needed that. See, I can get a little emotional thinking about that, just holding her next to my heart. And then I was like, if one could hold an imaginary, how did I word it, an imaginary child, if one could make believe that they were, it was just, it made people laugh because I caught myself saying that I was holding an imaginary child, but it was like 2 layers of imagination of like, if one could make believe that they were holding an imaginary child. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes, it does. And I want you to hold on to that thought. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with Nancy Norton.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Is there a book in you? Or another? AuthorU shows you how to create, develop, and publish your book without being hoodwinked. If you already have a book out, you will find a supportive and brainstorming community that is connected and creative, no matter where you live. AuthorU brings in national experts for its book camps and annual AuthorU extravaganza. It has regular meetings and delivers webinars for its members on timely topics. Through AuthorU's extensive network, members enjoy exclusive benefits, including significant discounts for a variety of services necessary to publishing. AuthorU is the premier authoring resource in the country, creating community, education, guidance, vision, and success for the serious author. If you want to create a book that has pizzazz, punch, and panache, AuthorU is for you. Timely author and publishing tips and articles are posted on its social media platforms, and it is free. Discover AuthorU, where authors go to become seriously successful. Join AuthorU today at AuthorU.org.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
So today is all about humor, storytelling, maybe taking tragedy or deep pain and using humor to help in the healing, but to weave it together so you and your listener or your reader, in the case of the book, can move on. Am I summing that up right, Nancy?
Yes, I'm gonna be your affirmation person. Yes, you are.
Okay,
And
all right.
I ended that last bit, and I don't know if it made sense. I want to just say, I just remember saying, if one could pretend to hold an imaginary human. I mean, it was just this, I don't know why it made me laugh, just because it was layers of imagination. And it was just enough lightness. That's not hilarious, but it was just enough lightness to take a little perspective. It's like, wait, you're pretending to hold an imaginary human. And that was enough to just take a little pressure off that one segment. And honestly, that story's not very fresh in my mind, because that was in 2016. I told that story. And I let go of it. So that's a good sign. I believe that I call it traumedy, using comedy to cope with trauma. And I believe it did help release that. Even though, obviously, there'll always be a place in my heart for this unborn child. But it also I have peace around it. Also, it helps that I adopted a child and was fulfilled in getting to be a parent that way. But anyway, back to... maybe something lighter, like maybe just I don't know. I like to tell on myself. I love to acknowledge stuff that I've done that was, okay, here's just a real simple thing about, as you remember maybe from Friday night. And I am sorry I missed your Saturday morning. I stayed up till 3 a.m. waiting for my son to get home from prom. So I had an excuse that I was still deep asleep at 11 a.m. But here's an example. Okay, so during my share, I talk about I was born cross-eyed, and that is, I think, part of what made me funny, because people did, in fact, laugh at me, like right at my face, and say, you're cross-eyed. So I developed a skill to kind of, throw them off the scent and make them laugh at something else. It was distraction and diversion. And then I make fun of, and it's not self-deprecating, I like to call it self-acknowledging humor, where I am like, when I was a nurse, let's say, back in the day, and I'm trying to, in the 80s, we were still recapping needles, and I'm like, have you ever tried to recap a needle with a lazy eye? And it's like, ow, 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 ow. I got it. I got it. Whatever they had, I got it. So that's just a little example of taking the pain and sadness of being disfigured, which is a big pain to have your face disfigured, and then, turning it into this light, silly thing.
Mm-hmm. Right. You talk about, you referred to it when you and I were talking, that writers need a lot of resilience, a lot of it. So how would a dose of humor increase resilience, enhance it, grow it, maybe fertilize it? So where does that all
Great question. Yes. Well, I do go around as a speaker, go around the country and talk about the power of humor. And that's from a nursing perspective, how it's good for our health, how it's great for our brain. And the resilience piece, I do a lot about resilience and humor. And so this doesn't necessarily pertain to you putting it in your story, although it might result with that. But just if you feel stuck, if you start getting identified with your own victim energy, like I am not enough, basically, as a core identity that a lot of us have in this world. And if you start identifying with the victim energy instead of your creator, your creative energy, you can really get stuck. And so when you take a humor break, it's counterintuitive. You might be under a deadline. You might be really stressed, but your brain starts getting more and more into that midbrain with anxiety and pressure, and then you're not resourced. But when you stop, if you'll just it's counterintuitive, but if you'll just stop, go to something that makes you laugh, even if it's something that you wrote before or a story that you knew from your family or a YouTube clip of your favorite comedian, even a 5-minute recharge with humor, just laughing. To get a joke, you have to use all the major lobes of your brain, and it gets you into this almost like meditative, it's like expansive connection with your subconscious, so much more resourced. And all of a sudden, oh my gosh, everything feels manageable. I think it's a gateway to my higher self. I do think humor is a higher consciousness, and it just really helps, energizes your brain, gets more oxygen flowing. Suddenly you have this, I can do this. And then all of a sudden ideas come and you're back at it.
I remember I was on those of listening know that I spent 30 years on airplanes going to speaking gigs. And I was reading a book. I usually sat on the aisle. I was reading a book, and it was laugh out loud funny. And I was trying to control myself, but I was laughing. And finally, I didn't have earphones on. I'm just minding my own business, having a good time with myself and my book. And I feel movement coming up from behind me. And finally, it was a woman from the back of the plane. And she said, "What are you reading? We can hear you back there, and we want to know." So humor is contagious. Laughter is contagious. Now, you have the healthcare background. So what's the latest data, really? I mean, that ties in humor with healing?
Oh, there's so much new data since Norman Cousins.
Right.
I want to acknowledge what you said just now about the woman coming from the back of the plane. It reminds me of that scene in Sleepless in Seattle. Isn't that the movie where is it Meg Ryan? I can't remember actor's names very well. Yes, Meg Ryan. Faking Meg an Ryan. Orgasm, and then everybody I'll have what she's having. Yeah,
that's right. I think that was Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan, and Billy Crystal's mother was the diner. She had a bit part, and she's the one that said that. I'll have what she's having.
So that reminded me of it when you said the woman came from the back of the plane.
Yeah.
Because that's probably the closest thing to orgasm, the laughter. Because it is an involuntary response from the midbrain. Anyway, I digress. So you were asking about what's the scientific data these days?
Yeah,
there's
latest.
More and more supporting what Norman Cousins discovered in the late 70s, when he treated himself with humor in those candid camera videos. And his work was mostly around SED rates. And, of course, he had anecdotal evidence of that he lived a lot longer than anybody thought he would, and a lot better than anybody thought he would. Now we do have functional MRIs that show what's going on. We also see very detailed evidence of the natural killer cells, which is part of your immune system that gets boosted with humor, the NK cells, and then the blood pressure goes down, and the cortisol, all these hormones, they can measure all this stuff in your blood now so easily, the cortisol, those stress hormones that really are what not only just make your life shorter, but make your life miserable. Like, think about when you're under stress and that feeling in your stomach, that horrible toxic feeling. And I think when we have that, our brains work differently because you are in fight, flight, freeze a little bit every time you're feeling that. You're not as resourced, you're not as creative. So anyway, yeah, it does all this stuff and there's more to learn. We are just on the brink of understanding how to measure the neuroscience, because the minutia of even functional MRIs can't really pin down what's going on the neuronal level, but we can make assumptions and conclusions based on the blood consumption that's on a functional MRI. Anyway, I'm so excited about it. I know it changed my life when I started reading these articles, and I just stumbled on them by mistake when I was losing my memory. I couldn't find people's names in my mind, and I knew them. I was like, I know you, but I can't come up with your name. So I started Googling neuroplasticity, and somehow the search engine went to neural pathways of humor. And I got so excited as I went down that rabbit hole, gave meaning to my life as a comedian, and it made sense that part of my life purpose is to heal myself and others. And as a nurse, that was easy to see, but as a comedian, I didn't know I was still helping with healing. That humor is a healing gift. I didn't know that. And at this age now, in my 60s, I have a different intention with my comedy. I still have a need to feel connection, but mostly I'm like, I want to be of service and let this be, that's my mantra before I go on stage, really let this be for the highest good. And I hope that one person leaves feeling better than when they walked in.
When you were talking about what triggered the visualization that came in my mind when you were talking about the negativity and the Billy and all that, and it's what humor It's a whole new form of, acid reflux that can shoot all over very bad things. But the humor can be the soother and easer and tamper it down. Maybe you all don't need the purple pill. You need to just laugh more. Just saying.
Well, I think you make a good point. A really valid point, because it's also a painkiller, because it releases endogenous morphine, right? Endorphins. This is the organic, God-given painkiller, and it's not addictive. It doesn't cause you harm. The sacklers make no money off of it. I'm just saying, you really could. If you are addicted to an opiate, I don't vilify that. I mean, we've seen, if you saw Dope Sick and you understand the corruption of Big Pharma, I want to put it out there. Get some help. You do need help with that. And then once you get off of those, get onto the natural painkillers, get onto the humor. And also, I'm a long-distance runner. I'll be honest. Humor and long-distance running have kept me off of antidepressants and painkillers, because I am in a lot of emotional pain. I have a background that we don't need to go into, but people don't become comedians for no reason. Let's just put it that way.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've known comedians, and I know people who write books like on humor. And one of the reveals is a lot of comedians come from painful backgrounds, and it's how they survived.
That's right.
And brought that out. When I was talking about healing, and we'll jump on to another topic, but I remember many years ago, I was 30 and I was very ill. Very, very ill. And John used to come in and read to me. I was paralyzed. And John used to come in and read to me. And I used to have to hold a pillow over my entire abdominal area. Because he would get me laughing. And in the book he was reading was David Niven's autobiography. I can remember it to this day, and it had the word moon in it. So something about the moon. I'm gonna
get that on Audible. I had a huge crush on David Niven, and I remember drawing pictures. I had his headshots. Oh my gosh! Please don't eat the daisies. Oh, well, please, anyway, please! I was so in love with David Niven. I came out of my paralysis with David Niven on my belly.
And you all could just figure that one out.
I love hearing that. I adore hearing that. And I want to say, and Judith, I know.
Hold on. We're going to take another break here.
We have something exciting after the break.
We'll break time. We'll come right back. And with me is Nancy Norton. And we're going to get on some tips and techniques and strategies of how to incorporate humor into your writing. We'll be right back.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Discover the power of you and your book at the Judith Briles Unplugged events. Each summer, Judith Briles Book Marketing Unplugged unfolds over 3 intensive days working with just Judith. You get publishing strategies, author and book platforms, book marketing panache and pizzazz, and authoring tools to take you and your book to rock star success. In the fall and winter, Judith Briles Speaking Unplugged includes Judith as your coach and mentor during 2 powerful days. You will learn how to structure a speech, how to create openings and closings, how to find gigs that pay you and sell your books, and you will get one-on-one coaching. Go to thebookshepherd.com and click on the Events tab to learn how to participate at the next Unplugged Workshop event.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Coming up, you'll hear more about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Just a little bit. Nancy, let's talk about writing with humor. I'm assuming when you're working on stuff, it is not all in your head. You're doing some script writing with it to come back as you rework it. Would that be correct?
I mean, it's not very formal. I have to tell you.
Yeah, it's informal.
Because I've been doing, informal. So what I do is I've been doing stand-up for 30 years, and I write on stage now. I used to write on little napkins all over the house, and then I would take those, and then I would try and flesh it out on stage at open mics. And now that I'm headlining clubs and doing 45 minutes to an hour, I will take a section of my set, which I let be what it is. And I just trust my higher power. I'm going to go with that. I just say, okay, I'm going to try and share this story and see what happens. And I try to couch it in the middle of two things that I know are strong, so that if it flops, then I have a bookend that I can come out at the other end with the strong material. And I did share a story that was really raw and really not quite ready at your conference, and I appreciated your critique of that. And, I have to say, I drove home going, oh, I disappointed. I don't like to disappoint people. I felt like I disappointed you. But I was like, oh, I need you to know that I should have, I do this thing where I just do a raw segment, and it was maybe 10-minute segment in the middle that maybe wasn't the right thing to do. Maybe I owe you some money. I don't know. But I will say, I appreciated that opportunity to, and I will grow from that, but
let me just add to this for someone who has also been speaking on a platform for 40 plus years, that there are times, all of you who are listening, there are times the angels descend, literally. Anything that comes out of your mouth is like gold. It is unbelievable. And there are times we all have hiccups. We all have hiccups. And I think it's really, and also let's transport that to writing. There are times when your writing is golden. Haven't you all listening in had chapters that just flowed? The figures are just clicking and things are going. The characters are talking to each other. Oh my God, you can't even keep up. Things are going so fast. It's so wonderful. It's magical. And other times it's like, oh my God, I'm stuck in quicksand. I'm never going to get out. All right. We all have those times. We all have these times. And so let's tie this into writing humor. And Nancy is a very physical person when she moves around. There's a lot of physical things going on. As a writer, Nancy, how can authors really get good description, physical, that can carry a reader into what's happening, and they can feel, they can experience the humor with it? Does that make sense, what I'm asking?
Yeah, it does make sense. And I don't know that I write for the stage, so I'm not sure I'm the best person to answer that, but maybe you and I let's work something out together. Let's do a little mini workshop together. Let's take a little segment of the story that I told, which we won't go into the heavy, long-winded version, but let's just go to the cartooned version where I was in a domestic violence situation. I called the police of Boulder thinking they were going to show up at my house, and this is the cartoon. I cartoon my pain. And I think because I'm such a physical comic, I love to exaggerate things to the point of ridiculousness, and I do have cartoon imagery. So I pictured a cartoon of a rainbow. I thought, oh, it's Boulder. They're going to come up here with a rainbow paddy wagon instead of putting anyone in it. Out will come these clowns with smudge sticks, and they're going to smudge my relationship. If you're familiar with smudge sticks, they're going to they're going to get all these demons out of my house, out of who I thought was a loving partner, and restore us to sanity. And that was, there's a part of me that really had a fantasy that this could get restored to sanity. And that's the little funny ding, ding, deedly, imagery I have in my mind, rather than what really happened, which was, and this is where my story would go, is it really was a black and white, and the police have black and white thinking, and one of us confessed to a crime, the other one denied. So one of us got to go to the Boulder County Jail, and then I have another cartoon about that.
So the imagery,
you tell me.
Okay, so the imagery I would brought in, you were, knowing that Boulder, and maybe some people don't realize that Boulder is like Berkeley's California, where I used to live.
Right. Very progressive.
Everybody, it's freedom
Very
and it's loving and anything can go and all that. And where Nancy could have said something where I expected the rainbow wagon to show up. What happened was the black and white one came up with the red cherry on top or something like that.
That's good.
Okay. Yeah. So I would bring, and I realized that my rainbow was not inside the black and white, and it was going to be this or that. And I guess I would be doing some play, and I would continue to play with that. But I think that it's really important that there is a very strong juxtaposition that shows up. That they really could see, because you introduced the black and white, but you didn't put the cherry on top. How's that?
I like that. I like that cherry on top.
Yeah, and I think that, and of course, when you see cop cars today, it's really hard to see where in the heck that cherry is because they're not on top of their cars anymore. They're hidden.
Yeah, they are. They're hidden. They sneak up on you.
Oh, yeah. And I always think that's really sneaky. That was really sneaky. I know when I was driving, just as a segue, I was driving one of our attendees to the airport yesterday. And, and I'm going, this one freeway, we can easily go 80. I'm going 80. I am getting literally tailgated. Really, this guy is pushing. I move over and I don't know. He must have gone going 100. And I'm just saying, either your plane's late or you're really stupid or something's going on. And it wasn't a mile later that the black and white, actually it was silver, the silver car with the cherry on top nailed him.
Oh, instant karma.
And instant karma on that. But let me come back to the spiel that, we've got resilience going on. And that you're trying to interject, describe humor. And as I said, you used your body. You have physical comedy. How do we write that up to bring the reader with us? Well, I'm going to do another example about people road raging next to you or people that don't merge when everybody knows it's time to merge and get over. Again, I get descriptive. I just naturally picture things. I don't know how. Like I said, I feel I don't know always how to teach what I do intuitively, and but maybe with your help, this is one of the things I've done in the past, and I had this, when people cut you off in traffic or do something like that actually feels, where you get scared because it makes, fear and anger are close friends. And if you don't want your blood pressure shooting through the roof or your rage, what I like to do when people do dangerous things in traffic is I like to imagine that person has diarrhea. And I know that might be too scatological. I don't know for your podcast, but I just feel like, honestly, if they are, I like to picture them puckered and trying to get home. And then I have compassion that comes up in me and I wish them well. And I go, gosh, I hope you make it. And I don't know if that's descriptive, I guess, puckered and trying to get home. But that, you may wonder how I had that epiphany. And one day I was the late merging a-hole. I had an emergency. I had eaten something that didn't agree with me. And I was really, I don't care if it's rude. I've got to get home. So that's how I got that perspective. You get by that, but here is I'm going to be working with another client on a book, and I know how the book has to open, and it's a courtroom scene, and I'm trying to what do we bring to visualize that can set the stage that something may be happening, something be coming. And, when you were just said something, I'm not sure it was, but the trigger dropped into me. It's going to be on the neck. We're going to see action on this guy's neck before he pulls the gun. We're going to see something like that carotid pulse. Yes, yeah, exactly. Or the tension in the jaw, the tight, like seeing him clench his jaw, and the eyes starting to squint. So now we're the scene I'm describing, everyone, is not humor. There's nothing humorous about what happens, but that how important it is to set the stage. So either you're going to have, like I was holding a pillow over my belly. I mean, I had incisions all over, but I was holding a pillow over my belly because it was so painful to laugh. And yet it was so healing, if that makes any sense to all of you. As my husband was reading to me, Dave, and yes,
we can feel that in our bodies. We have it. Whatever brings up the mirror neurons, I think, are so important. Here is a simple. This is a very simple thing that I do when I'm trying to imagine something. I don't know how you access your imagination, but literally if I look up and left, and I don't know how this works. I also do trauma therapy with brain spotting, so it might have something to do with a brain spot. But if I'm processing something and I want to picture something in my mind's eye, literally I look up and left, and then images come to me, and then all you have to be is a transcriptionist at that point. And then let your mind's eye go into that detail of the neck, of the sweaty palm, of the feeling. You know, what was I feeling? What was I really like? All of that detail of that comes just naturally to me. I'm not fishing for it. I'm not trying to make up anything. It comes to me. And I would say that to me, that's my invitation portal. I don't know if that works for other people, but that works for me. Look up and left.
I love the phrase invitation portal. So that when you are trying to, all of you, I think with Nancy can jump on this, and we have another minute before we take our final break. But that what happens is that when it comes up, and that I love the phrase, let your imagery become the transcription, is that, and what I said earlier, Nancy uses a lot of physical, she uses her body slinking down, moving around, and it's like sometimes, I can't do that. But that if you can now use the magic adjective words to bring your reader in, to describe what the body is doing, or the motions, or the facial reaction, that will reveal the hints and invite the reader to come in so they're with you. Does that make sense, Nancy?
It makes perfect sense. And not only that, I love to go back to those mirror neurons where we actually feel ourselves doing it in our mind's eye. So that's such a joining. Yeah, we're having a shared experience, the writer and the reader.
Yep, I love that. Okay, we're going to take our final break, and we'll be right back with Nancy Norton.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Are you confused about publishing options? Do you know which printing option is best for your book? Does your stomach flip when you think about selling books? Or do you feel overwhelmed with what to do about book marketing and publicity? Get the answers and much more. Get them and from someone who knows publishing inside and out, from both the traditional and independent sides, how to make a successful book. You can't do it alone without paying the price. You can spend your money creating a book that turns out to be so-so, or you can create a book that looks and feels classy, builds your brand and platform, and is a success, a bestseller. It is your choice. You choose. If you want author and publishing success, you want Judith Briles as your book coach. Sign up for her weekly blogs and e-zine at thebookshepherd.com. The book shepherding concept is simple. The publishing world is changing, and so must you. You need an experienced shepherd and guide to collaborate with you as you create, strategize, develop, publish, and achieve your publishing goals. Publishing is riddled with obstacles, sometimes nightmares for the author. You do not need more problems. You want solutions. Dr. Judith Briles will shepherd you through the maze and chaos. At times, she has had to step in and rescue a book that has been sabotaged by a publisher, by a publishing service provider, and sometimes even by the author. If you want author and book success, connect with her today at thebookshepherd.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Nancy, let's swing back to creativity. You mentioned to me that, you're on a few sites. You're on Instagram. You're on TikTok.
I know. I just got on TikTok, and I'm loving it. Yes.
Okay. All right. And you've got everyone. Her website is nancynorton.tv. But let's talk about TikTok for a sec, because we do talk about, we authors do talk about, should we do TikTok? Is it the right format for us? Is it more for this other thing? And, I'm not so sure on that. I don't see myself doing, I love to be goofy. I'm quirky, but I don't see myself doing goofy, quirky things on a TikTok format. But a comedian, I could see you on those things. Now, you just went on TikTok. You've had 200,000 downloads just recently, just on one deal.
Well, it's views. So that's not exactly a download. People are seeing it in their scrolls.
You're right.
That's
I should not have said
and then it's like 11,000 plus, I don't know now. I haven't counted in the last whatever, but it's, like 11,000 likes. And I've never had anything like that come close to anything like that on Instagram or Facebook. My Facebook and Instagram are pretty flatlined, and I don't know. I just hired somebody to help me with social media. And the key, and I've gone to a webinar about it, which I'd be happy to I listened to your most recent, I think it was one of your most recent podcasts, which I actually really love hearing about social media. Now, here's what I want to say. Absolutely, yes, writers can be on TikTok. You don't have to do a goofy dance. There's a lot of how-to stuff on TikTok. My son is becoming empowered by following a kid with ADHD who's talking about it candidly, vulnerably. There's a girl on there talking about her Tourette's who's very vulnerable. And it's not just a goofball site. It actually is like, learn how to do finances. There's all kinds. You start looking around on TikTok, start curating your TikTok, and you will find anything. And there could be how to write a book, definitely. And they're allowing longer and longer. I think it's up to 3 minutes now. And there's always click my bio, to get to, go to my YouTube. So I highly recommend it. I have gotten out to a much bigger audience on TikTok. And all I'm doing is taking 60-second, 30-second, like ends of jokes with the punchlines. And the ones that are getting the biggest hit are from nurses. Nurses are so burned out right now. And so a lot of my hashtags are compassion fatigue, stress management, nurse life. And I'm saying the things the nurses wish they could say. Like, I am so tired. You want me to have compassion and do all this shit? And that's the one that got 200,000 views.
Yeah, it's actually
wiped out.
As we record this, it's 210,000. So.
Oh, wow. Okay.
There you go.
And that blows my mind because I've never, ever had any kind of exposure like that. Now, the other thing that helped me, to be honest, I did have a Dry Bar special. Dry Bar Comedy has a big platform, and they invited me to be a collaborator on Instagram. And I don't know if you're familiar with that feature on Instagram, but you invite collaboration, and then you get on 2 Instagrams at once. And so that did help me. They, in fact, messaged me and said, would you please invite us to be a collaborator on your Instagram? And then so I've had a couple of Instagram videos that got 600 likes, but nothing like with TikTok, where I'm getting out to a much, much bigger, broader audience. And like I heard you say, a narrower. I learned something from you by listening to, because I'm always doing the 3.1 billion, how many people have nurses of TikTok, but then getting down to the narrower. Sorry, I'm from the Ozarks. Narrower.
The one where I say it's so much easier to be the whale in the pond instead of the sardine in the sea. In other words, the more you niche yourself, the bigger your market can become.
Yeah, I'm going to work on doing more of those too, the little fine. And then also I went on, what did you say, TWUB? I went on there and registered my name. So I learned something. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Good.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I highly recommend it. I think go look at other writers on TikTok, see what they're doing. You can be a talking head. You actually can just give really succinct nuggets and then build and then have click my bio for more or click my, whatever to get to your website. So you don't have to dance. Although I want to say, Dr. Judith Briles, I would love to see you dance on TikTok. I would share it. I will share your post if you dance on TikTok. Come on.
Well, I do have the pantyhose dance. See, you didn't hear me do that story.
I heard the end of it. I was so bummed that day. But
my God.
What's ironic about that is I was auditioning for an underwear commercial for Father's Day that I was supposed to be saying lines like, it's the bulge enhancement for me. So I was late because I just got this pinged audition for this commercial. And then I show up there and you're talking about your underwear on the ground in Seattle.
Oh, yeah, that did happen.
But it's a great imagery. You're so good at that, at the imagery and the I came in at the end and I definitely pictured what was going on.
Oh, I just to share that, I'm not going to tell the story because it's a 4-minute story, but when I did an opening with there must have been 1,000 people in the conference. They had a guy there, very talented pianist who also happened to be blind, and he was there to listen to all the different speakers, and then he would come back at the end of the day and do a wrap up with things. He would sing it and do that. He did.
Oh, how funny! So he would recount some of the stuff the day in his song.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Oh yes. He had us all up dancing to the pantyhose jingle.
Well, see, you could do that pantyhose dance.
No, I will not.
Come on.
I will not.
Double dare you. Right. Double dare from old Nance.
No. That I would not do. But anyway, all of you. So what Nancy's done is opened up because I was going to go along and play around with TikTok. I have and we're going to go after aggressively build our YouTube station now, YouTube channel that we've got going on because we've got all our podcasts going up, but I do a new video every day for the YouTube.
Wow.
And I'm saying there is no reason why those babies, the ones under 3 minutes, could not be transported to TikTok.
Absolutely. And I will tell you from my guru that she has a huge following on Instagram, and I went to her webinar. If you can get anything down to 7 seconds, you're going to win a prize because that's the algorithm that Instagram Reels is rewarding. It's so hard, but think of if you can give a nugget that's under 10 seconds, under 20. If you need the full 3, that's fine. But if you can get something down to 7 seconds, Reels, I don't know why, but that's what they're rewarding because of the attention span. So if you get that final
because the average American has an attention span less than a goldfish.
Yep.
So, and a goldfish, goldfish is 8 seconds, everybody. All right, so here's what, for your imagination, your creativity, you need to really grow. Here, I'm going to give you a list. You need to grow your use of adjectives. And those adjectives have to be snappy, sassy, salty. They've got to have a little juice to them. They've got to bring people in. So they're whatever it is up in the brain, maybe Nancy, you can help here, the brain that kicks off the thinking and pulling. What you're doing is, imagination to me is like a fishing expedition. You throw the line out, it's got bait on it, and you start reeling it in until you hook them. So, and that's, Nancy, what you have to do with your humor, right? You got to hook them all the time.
Yeah. I wish I knew more what I was doing sometimes. Lately, it's so simple. I really am trying to integrate my heart and mind and spirit. And when I'm on stage, now it's easy on stage, maybe it's easy, I don't know. But in writing, when I started writing my book 10 years ago, and it's all on 3x5 cards.
Got to start somewhere.
I know. But I tried to do a spiritual connection with my future readers. And what is it I'm here to share? And now I'm a person that I just need purpose. I need to be on a life purpose, so it has to have meaning for me. And I was in a crazy making, after that domestic violence situation where things went sideways and reality got twisted and the dominoes fell. And I was like, I would love to help myself 10 years before and help somebody avoid this. So I was like, okay, I do this. It's more of a spiritual exercise. And I try to connect with what is it I would need. What is there anything I could have said that would help me? And that's just a really vague thing, but just trying to get that message out there. What is it I need to say? It's a need. It's a weird need. Like I have a calling.
Well,
more than I'm trying to hook them, it's a different kind of purpose. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not for me that I'm hooking them. It's not for me.
All right. I get it's
I'm trying to answer they have the hook. They have, what is it that they need, that I can provide help? I guess because I'm a codependent and I need to be helpful. That's vague, I guess. Again, I'm not good at articulating these things.
That doesn't surprise me. All right, 30 seconds. Where do you come up with new material?
I have a teenager, I'm a transcriptionist in my life. I have a dog, a teenager, and I am impulsive. So I just, it's all right in front of me. It's right here in the mirror or in my house or every day, write down something that amused me, or what if it went this way instead of that way, something that really bugged me that I can have a sense of empowerment around, because I think that's another thing that humor helps with. Sense of powerlessness, like how would it have gone differently if you were empowered in that situation?
Perfect. All right.
Funny twist.
Yes. All right. Wrap up time. Nancy Norton, thank you for being with us. And everyone.
Thank you for being with me.
You're welcome. NancyNorton.tv. We'll be back with you again. And remember, for all of you, that if you're going to be successful, it's always up to you. We'll see you next week.